The rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has taken a wild turn, and this time it's stretching beyond the basketball court. When the LPGA announced its groundbreaking endorsement deal with Caitlin Clark, the sports world stopped to take notice. It wasn't just another contract, it was a cultural moment. For the first time, a WNBA player was crossing over into golf, one of the most tradition-bound sports, and doing so with a deal rumored to include millions in Nike golf endorsements. The announcement was timed to perfection, but the shocking part wasn't the deal itself, it was when it happened. Caitlin had closed the entire negotiation while she was injured, sitting courtside, rehabbing, and still finding a way to dominate headlines and close million-dollar contracts. It was the ultimate power move. According to sources close to the situation, Angel had tried to secure her own golf deal before Caitlin's announcement and had been ignored. Her management team reportedly reached out to multiple golf organizations pitching partnerships, but no one responded. Then came Caitlin's deal, a perfect, polished rollout backed by Nike and the LPGA itself. To say Angel's camp was furious would be an understatement. One insider described it as watching someone realize they were no longer the main character. The jealousy, they said, was almost tangible. The timing couldn't have been worse for Angel. Her 2025 season had already been rocky. Her shooting numbers were down, her team's attendance was low, and her endorsement portfolio was shrinking fast. Brands that once courted her during her breakout year were suddenly looking elsewhere. Social media engagement had plummeted by nearly half, and her attempts to reignite interest, posting workout videos, teasing reality projects, and stirring minor controversies, were falling flat. Fans weren't buying it anymore. The narrative had shifted, and Caitlin Clark was at the center of the spotlight. In stark contrast, Caitlin's numbers looked almost unreal. Her jersey sales had already surpassed last year's totals. Her games continued to draw record-breaking viewership, even when she wasn't on the floor, and the Fever's social media following had exploded by over 300%. Indiana had gone from a struggling franchise to the most marketable team in the league, and now, with players like Sophie Cunningham joining the roster, their star power had only grown. Meanwhile, Angel's team was struggling to even fill arenas. At one recent home game, attendance was so poor that broadcast producers allegedly used digital crowd enhancement to make the stands look full. The difference between the two athletes wasn't just performance, it was perception. Then came the meltdown. Hours after Caitlin's LPGA announcement broke the internet, Angel Reese launched into a chaotic posting spree. First, she uploaded a picture of herself holding a golf club with the caption, "Been doing this," only to delete it minutes later. Then she reposted the same photo with a new caption, before going live on Instagram at 3 a.m. to vent about certain people getting opportunities because of privilege. She never mentioned Caitlin by name, but everyone knew who she meant. The rant went on for nearly 20 minutes, and even her own teammates were reportedly messaging her to stop. The next morning, clips of the live flooded social media. Fans, commentators, and even former players called it unprofessional. The fallout didn't stop there. Angel's erratic behavior began to concern her sponsors. She had already gone through multiple PR teams in less than 6 months, and her latest representatives were reportedly hired specifically to repair her public image. But instead of helping, the damage kept piling up. Several major brands quietly backed away from potential deals. A marketing executive even told one outlet that every time Angel posted, their team braced for backlash. Her partnership with a top cosmetics company was reportedly under review after her online behavior violated their professionalism clause. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark didn't say a word. She didn't respond to the drama, didn't post any cryptic messages, didn't acknowledge Angel at all. Instead, she was busy announcing that she'd be donating part of her LPGA earnings to youth golf programs in underserved communities. It wasn't performative, it was natural, effortless, authentic. And that's where the difference truly lies. One athlete lets her work speak for itself. The other seems trapped in the noise of her own frustration. The LPGA partnership wasn't just about endorsements, it was about legacy. Caitlin was being positioned as the next great face of women's sports, transcending basketball entirely. Nike's new Excellence Has No Boundaries campaign was set to feature her in both basketball and golf promotions, making her the first woman since Serena Williams to receive cross-sport marketing on that scale. Early reports estimate the campaign could bring Caitlin an additional $15 million over 3 years, launching during the 2026 Super Bowl. This was more than just a deal. It was a message. Caitlin Clark wasn't a moment. She was the movement. At the same time, Angel was struggling to hold on. During a recent WNBA Players Association meeting, Caitlin's LPGA deal was brought up as an example of how women athletes could expand their reach into other sports. Angel reportedly interrupted, saying, "Some of us don't need to run to other sports for validation." The room fell silent. Even players who weren't particularly close to Caitlin were stunned by the pettiness. One veteran allegedly pulled Angel aside afterward, warning her that if she didn't mature, she risked alienating the entire league. The moment symbolized something bigger. It wasn't just about envy. It was about self-sabotage. And as Caitlin's success grew, Angel's brand continued to collapse. Her podcast audience dropped by 70%. Her merchandise wasn't selling. Even her die-hard fans were starting to drift away. Every attempt to rebrand came across as reactionary, while Caitlin's every move looked strategic and genuine. Caitlin was being invited to speak at the 2026 Global Sports Summit, working on her own foundation, and rumored to be the focus of an upcoming documentary series. Angel, on the other hand, was becoming a headline for all the wrong reasons. LPGA officials, on their end, couldn't be happier. Ticket sales for Caitlin's debut tournament skyrocketed by 400%, forcing organizers to expand viewing areas and bring in additional security. Golf Channel even announced wall-to-wall coverage of her first event, something normally reserved for major championships. One LPGA executive reportedly called it the best decision the league had made in decades. Caitlin Clark wasn't just growing women's basketball, she was elevating women's sports, period. Angel tried one last move to stay relevant. She launched a social media golf series of her own, clearly hoping to ride Caitlin's momentum. But when the first episode aired, it was a disaster. She struggled to hit the ball, complained about being bored, and dismissed the sport entirely. The video received more dislikes than likes, and professional golfers mocked her in the comments. It was the final straw, a painful reminder that imitation doesn't equal innovation. The truth is, this rivalry was never really a rivalry at all. A rivalry requires two equals pushing each other to greatness. What's happening here is something else entirely. Caitlin Clark is rewriting the blueprint for women's athletics, while Angel Reese is desperately clinging to a spotlight that's already moved on. Caitlin is playing chess, quietly, brilliantly, methodically, while Angel is flipping the board because she doesn't like losing at checkers. As of now, Caitlin's total earnings for 2025 are projected to exceed $20 million, making her the highest-paid women's basketball player in history. Angel's income, meanwhile, has dropped by nearly half. Even fellow stars like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird have subtly weighed in, calling out jealousy and urging players to celebrate each other's wins instead of tearing them down. The writing's on the wall, the game has changed, and Caitlin Clark is the reason why. So what do you think? Is Angel Reese just reacting to a system that's favoring Caitlin Clark? Or has her own ego become her downfall? Drop your thoughts below and tell us where you stand in this rivalry that's shaking women's sports to its core. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because this story is far from over. The LPGA debut is right around the corner, and if you think this drama has peaked, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet.